selected a pair of wide receivers in the 7th round who are both productive players in college and can join the Vikings roster as viable candidates to contribute quickly. Dillon Mitchell was Oregon's leading receiver in 2018 and finished 2018 with a school record 1,184 receiving yards. Bisi Johnson is another 4-year contributor selected by the Vikings in this draft. He was overshadowed at times by other Colorado State receivers, but he kept producing and totaled 125 receptions during his career. Here's a closer look at a few things each of them do well. The first guy we're going to look at is Bisi Johnson out of Colorado State University. Now keep in mind, we already have Adam Thielen, you have Stephon Diggs, so what are you looking for? You're looking for that number 3 slot receiver. I think that's where there's an opening on this team. And what I like about Bisi Johnson is he's very, very good at reading coverages, and he's very good in his routes. And so what does that exactly mean? What you'll see in this situation right here is you're going to have 2 receivers stacked like you see a lot in the NFL. You'll see a lot of this type of receivers up on top, and it gives the defensive backs problems because they don't really know which way they're going to go. Now, they're stacking so they can both stretch you horizontally, but Bisi Johnson is a guy underneath. He comes underneath. Now, he knows that when he gets underneath in this position right here, that this DB is going to stay outside because he has no help to the corner of the end zone. The only help that he's going to get is from a safety over here. So Johnson's smart enough to know, widen out, get that DB as wide as you can, and then create that seam and have the ball delivered right on time, right in between the corner and the safety. So he sets all of this up, and that little head nod right there, turns the shoulder, ball is delivered. He goes up for it with 2 hands, catches it in his hands, and comes down with it, takes a big hit on the way down, comes up with the touchdown. So that ability to recognize coverages and know how you have to tailor the routes to get to where you need to go. This is another situation. The quarterback really kind of a pick route. This is a bit of an option for the quarterback, but he's coming down, has the ability, sees the defender that he needs to chip, gets the guy open, but the quarterback decides to throw the slant anyway. But this is nice to see on a slot receiver underneath. A lot of bodies in the area and catching this football right in the seam, coming down with it, and then getting the first down. So that's what you got to get used to as a slot receiver. A lot of one-on-one coverages, a lot of two-way goes, and then a lot of catches, like I said, in tight coverage. Another situation here, I really like this route. It's a stacked position, right? You're going to get basically a receiver out wide who's going to pull this corner, and then you leave the receiver one-on-one with the deep safety. But you'll see when Bisi goes deep and he breaks this out, this is a high-low, flat 7, whatever you want to call it. He bends this route as much as he can to get distance from that safety. So as he's coming up the field, he sees the single safety up high, breaks out, but notice how he's not running this deep into the corner where it makes this guy's job easier. He's flattening this route out to create separation. Those are the little things. That's why being a wide receiver, it's an art form. There's so much that these guys got to learn. It's not all dependent on height, weight, and speed. But again, another big hit holds on to the football. So I like the way this kid operates in space. I like the way he identifies what's going on in front of him. And then his ability also to run after the catch. This is just a plain, simple slant. Knows the defender's in the middle of the field. He knows that there's going to be a guy lurking right there. If he can stop and spin and get this first guy to miss, which he does, he's able to get into wide open space. And I'll tell you what, guys, the only difference between a first-round and a 7th-round draft pick is probably that right there. A first-rounder wouldn't get caught from behind. So he does all those things very, very well. And like I said, we have Diggs, you got Thielen, you need a number 3 receiver, you need a guy that can operate in space. You can even move Adam Thielen into the slot and let this guy work on one-on-one on the outside. I think his ability to read coverages, break routes, catch the football, make some tough catches, in traffic, take hits, all those things, he's going to have the ability to get a lot of snaps this fall, and I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do. Dillon Mitchell, wide receiver from the University of Oregon. Another wide receiver I like. He's a little smaller, a little more shifty, and I think another guy who can really step in and challenge and do well at the slot receiver position. But when you're a smaller receiver, you're going to work one-on-one. And you look at the size difference between he and this corner. That's huge. But he's using his quickness, uses his hands. That's what a long arm, big corner is going to want to do. Try to get his hands on you and slow you down. Watch him. He's just like a defensive lineman. Slaps the hands away, gets outside, gets space. Once he gets space, see that little burst right there? He gets himself about a yard. Separation, gets back on the ball, looks back on the ball, and comes down with it. And the ability to catch, guys, it's not easy to do. And in this situation, you have a back shoulder fade. That ball is in the air. You can see they exit out just well. But how many times have we seen that in the NFL? Guys looking over the shoulder and then having to come down with, now he's going to have to come down with 2 feet in bounds, but in that case, he had 1. But just again, concentration on the football, the ability to get the hands off, knowing that being a smaller, quicker receiver, that you're going to run into those things. We saw earlier 2 receivers right next to each other, right? That gives these guys the opportunity to run a number of different routes underneath. So what he does well, gets across the middle of the field. He sees that it's man coverage, and when it's man, you run. When it's zone, you settle. So he knows it's man coverage, and the guy covering him is from way over here. So he's going to want to get as much speed as he can over to the other side, gets open. But that's where the intelligence and the football IQ comes into play. He knows this guy's been hauling all the way from over here to try to make this tackle. So he's just going to let him overrun the play, cut back inside, accelerate, make another guy miss, and then get himself into the end zone. So whenever you have a receiver who can catch the ball in space, knows how to turn up and make the first guy miss, gets to the next level to make another guy miss, you're going to be lighting up the scoreboard. So both of these receivers we drafted in the 7th round, very, very good at running after the catch. This is a route you'll see all day long in the NFL, right? Just what they call a star route. You have 2 outside options. You have a guy that hooks here. This guy comes deep in a 7. The running back is going to come out into the flat. It's just a 1, 2, 3. The key, though, when you're the number 3 guy, is you have to hold in there and you have to find a place to get open. So he runs the curl. He knows that there's a defender, there's a linebacker right underneath him. He stays square, finds an opening. The quarterback can't find anything. He has a 7 route, decides not to go there. But once again, catches the ball on the 10-yard line, makes a defender miss, 2 defenders, and then fights his way into the end zone. So his ability to make the first defender miss and get to the next level and then make a solid run and break into the end zone, but staying square and shuffling, those are instinctive things that this kid does real well. Not a lot of move to him. You don't want to switch the ball. These are the things that they got to learn, because if you get hit while you're switching the football, you might fumble it. But overall, a good raw talent. This situation right here, trying to move the chains, how many times have we seen this in the NFL? You're one-on-one with the defensive back, and he knows as he's approaching and making this separate move that the defensive back has a heavy inside shade. Right there, he knows that DB is sitting on the inside, so that means this direction is going to be open. So he sets him up. He has the ability to get to and know where the chains are. Now, it's a lot easier said than done, but to break this route off right at the first down marker, and again, bends it back in, makes the first guy miss. He gets in some trouble right here, but he's still fighting to get extra yardage, and that's a good thing. So both of these guys, these receivers, quick underneath. They're smart. I like the way they can read coverages and adapt the routes that they run, because being a wide receiver is more of an art form than it is a science. It's not just about height, weight, and speed. And I think this kid's run after the catch, his ability to run after the catch, make guys miss, he's going to do some good things for us this fall.